Hey guys, welcome back. Lazarus here for Tuts Plus again, and in the next couple of parts we're going to go ahead and finish this bottom piece off, and also we're going to go ahead and start creating this top piece. Now, due to that I couldn't find any good references, I worked ahead and I created it, and what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move this aside and we're going to use this as a reference. Okay, so we're still going to create this together. So as far as I know, we left off, I'm pretty sure that we left off somewhere along here. So we had this created, and I'm pretty sure that I went ahead and I changed the size of this. So what I did is I just unsmoothed it, go to vertex mode, and I selected all these vertices on that side, and then I just drag them in so it's a little bit thicker. Okay, so I'll just give you guys a better look at it so you know how it's looking. So after we got this piece created, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add one more little touch to it that I noticed on one of the references, and all it is we're going to use one of these cubes that we have on the other cylinder. So you're just going to duplicate it over, I drag it over, and obviously you're going to go ahead and get this out of that group. So I find it where it is. There we go. Now we can close that group, and just go ahead and modify center pivot so you can move it around easier. And basically this piece is just going to be on one side, well, only on this side, and it's going to sit somewhere along here. Okay, so pretty close to the screw, not too far. Now we're going to go ahead and adjust the size of this. So I'm just going to go ahead and select all of these vertices on this side, and I'm just going to go ahead and drag them in like so. Okay, and I think that was a bit too much. I'll push it out a little bit. Okay, so that looks good, and now I'm going to select all of those vertices and we're going to drag these in so they're not hanging outside. So I'm just going to go ahead and smooth this, see how this is looking, and I think we're going to go ahead and push this in just a bit. Maybe pull it out this way. Again, I'm doing this roughly by eye, and we're going to go ahead and scale it down just a bit. Okay, so it looks something like that. I think we might drag it out just a bit more, like so. Okay, so that's it. Now we can go ahead and move this into our group. I did go ahead and start sorting some of the groups out. You might not have that, so you can go ahead and group your parts together just so it's a bit cleaner to work with. So now I'm just going to move this into that group. Okay, so once we have that, we can go ahead and duplicate this over. So I'm just going to hit Control D. And then while my scale is on, I'm going to go ahead and give it X-1 to duplicate it over like so. Okay, so once we have that, we did add this little extrusion in here, but then I looked around the references and I think the best way to connect these together is by a cylinder. So just going to go ahead and go to Modify, Make Live, and then we're going to use a cylinder, and we're going to make it roughly, well, probably around that big. We're going to scale it up anyway, and then we're just going to give it a height so it intersects with that. And in the inputs, we're going to go ahead and give it around probably like 30 subdivisions, so it's nice and smooth. And now you can go ahead and scale this up. So for this, you can again give it your own touch. So you can go ahead and make this a bit more complicated, but I didn't really want to, so I'm just going to leave it fairly simple, and I think this looks alright, so you're going to leave it that as it is. I'm just going to go ahead and turn off this Make Live, and I'm going to go ahead and isolate this piece just so you can add in the loops. Go into my side view, go to faces, select all of these, and now you can go ahead and just go to extrude and give it about 0.01 offset. Okay, and then go to our insert edge loop tool, and add a loop in here and another loop around here. Okay, so now we can go ahead and smooth this, come out for isolate, and this is what we're going to end up with. Okay, so that piece is created now and it looks okay. So now, before my time runs out, what we're going to do is we're going to start creating this piece. So it's going to be fairly similar to the pieces that we made before, so it shouldn't be too complicated. So you're going to start off again with a pipe in our side view. So there we go with the pipe, and just going to drag one out, probably around that big, give it some height, and drag the thickness out, probably around there will do. And again, I'm just looking at my reference to make sure that it's okay, and I'm just going to scale this up a bit, move it, and then in my perspective mode we're just going to go ahead and move this where it's supposed to be. So I'm kind of going for this to be around where the cuts are for the threads, so roughly around there. Let me just have a look how thick they are. Okay, right, so we're just going to go ahead and in vertex mode we're just going to go ahead and select some of these and just drag them in a bit to make it a little bit thinner and adjust it. So now we can go ahead and just use our insert edge loop tool and put one around here, so not exactly in the center, and then we can go ahead and select all of these faces and we're going to go ahead and extrude them. So I'm just going to give it some thickness. I want this to be fairly deep, something like that. Okay, so once we have that, we're going to go ahead and start working on the back side of this. If I just show you guys, if I can go ahead and isolate this piece. Oh, not that face, the actual object. There we go, so this is what we're going to end up with. So as you guys can tell, we've just done this bit, and now we're going to make the back bit look something like this. Okay, it's fairly simple. So let's go ahead and start creating this. So, let me just remind myself again. Okay, there we go. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add an edge loop to this as well, around here, and we can go ahead and double select these faces and extrude them, probably around there. Okay, and then once we have that, we can just go to edge and select this loop, and we're going to go ahead and extrude them. So I'm going to go ahead and scale them in. Now I'm just going to go ahead and push them in a little bit like so, so we end up with something like this. Okay, so probably around that deep, and then once I have that, I'm going to extrude again, turn off my offset so it doesn't freak out, and then I'm just going to scale them in like so. Okay, once you have that, you can go ahead and shift right click and go to vertices. And now we can go ahead and shift right click, merge vertices to center. Okay, so basically we've got a piece created. Now we just got to go ahead and add in all the loops that we need and then create the inner part of this. Okay, so let's go ahead and start adding in the loops. Use our insert edge loop tool, and we should be pretty good at this by now. I might have made it a little bit different than what it looks like on Wally, but this is a pretty hard bit to see on the pictures that I could find of Wally, of how this actually looks like. So most of these parts that are like fairly deep inside the model, such as these and probably some of these inner workings, we're going to have to go ahead and improvise quite a lot of it. But we're going to have to see later on down the line of how good reference pictures I can get, and hopefully it will end up looking pretty good. And so far it looks quite nice, so Hopefully it will stay that way. So again, I'm just adding in these loops. There we go, and we just go adding loops for this as well. So we're gonna have to go ahead, select these faces real quick. We should have done it when we were doing the extrusions, but I've forgotten. And I'm gonna go ahead and just scale this in a bit, like so. And let's go ahead and smooth it, see how it's looking. Seems like we're getting a bit of a freakiness going on here. But actually I quite like that rim around there. Let's just go ahead and add another loop just to make it even tighter. Okay, and that looks pretty good. I quite like that little rim in there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to create the inner piece for that. So I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate basically one of these, and we're going to move them up. So let's Control D, just move it out of the way, and then find it in our previous group. There it is. I'm just going to drag it out, and I'm just going to go ahead and scale this down. Hold down V and try to snap in the middle. Hopefully it went in the middle. Yep, it did. And now I can just move it out just a bit. So I don't want it all the way on the edge. I do want this rim around here. Okay, so now I'm just going to go into our side view and just scale this up a bit more. Like so. And I think we're going to go ahead and just adjust some of these edges. So I'm going to push this one down a bit, and I'm also going to go ahead and push this one down a little bit, and then go ahead and smooth it, and I might go ahead and just scale it up this way a little bit, like so. Okay, so that looks great. And now we can go ahead and we're going to go ahead and add these screws to it. Okay, so let's go back into our side view and just select one of them, duplicate it, move it over so it's out of the way, and then again we're going to go ahead and find where it is and drag it out of the group so our group stay clean. And now I'm just going to turn on X-ray just to see where this meant to be sitting, and I'm only going to position them quite roughly. Well, actually we'll probably put it around there. Once I have that, I'm just going to press insert and snap my pivot into the center of this, and I can go ahead and duplicate this again and rotate, put it around 90 degrees. And then go ahead and do that again. Okay, and let's duplicate this one as well. Rotate 90. And there we go, we've got our screws created. Come out of our X-ray view. And that looks okay. We're just going to go ahead and select all of them, group them together, and then go to modify center pivot. And I think we're going to go ahead and scale these down just a bit, like so, and then push them further into our mesh. So you should get something that looks like that. Okay, so now that we have that, we can go ahead and duplicate these. Gonna group them all together first, and I think I might just move them out a little bit more. Okay, that's great. So let's go ahead, select all of these, and group them together. So I'm just gonna name this. What should I name it? Let's name it Thread Gear Top. It's not really a gear, but I'll know what I mean. Left. Okay, so once we have this, we can go ahead and duplicate this over. and go to scale. If I'm not on scale already, we should center the pivot. I'm just going to delete the one that I duplicated and then go to modify, center pivot, duplicate and then scale X -1, and now we can go ahead and just move this over like so. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now we can go ahead and just make the cylinder for this inner part. And now that we added some little extra details to this, I'm gonna make a little bit different than this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the cylinder around here. That comes out from here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and unsmooth this, make it live, and then create a new cylinder from around here, and probably it's going to sit somewhere there. And then again drag our height and just go to modify, make live, modify, make not live again, just to delete that. And then I'm going to go ahead and change probably like 30 for the subdivision, and I'm just going to make sure that this both sits inside the center. Isolate this, go into a side view, select all the faces, extrude, offset 0.01. And the reason why I'm doing it fairly fast now is because most of these you guys should know of by heart, so hopefully you guys can follow along. Let's go ahead and smooth this, come out of isolate and see how it's looking. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm fairly happy with that. I'm probably more happy with that than the old one. So now that we have this bottom one created, we're basically just going to duplicate it around for the top part, and then we can go ahead and start creating the bit that sits inside the center. So I might go ahead and just scale this up a bit more. Let me just think. Yeah, I like that look. Okay, so I just scaled it up a little bit. And before we go ahead and duplicate it over, we're going to duplicate this cylinder and just scale it down in size, like so, and then scale it up. Probably make sure that it sits in the center-ish. Just scale it up a bit more. Okay, so we get this little rim sort of thing. I might even make it a little bit thinner, like so. Okay, and now we can go ahead and duplicate all this stuff, all these parts together, and go to modify, center pivot, and name it thread is top one, and this cylinder should be in this group, not that one, that one, that one. There we go. Okay, so I just named that, and now we're going to go ahead and just duplicate this, and we're going to go ahead and move this up. And it's going to sit somewhere along here. It is a bit off our reference, but that's not a problem. So now I'm just going to make sure that this is sitting at the right place as well, so nearly touching them threads. And there we go, a piece is created. We're going to go ahead and create this inner piece in the next couple of parts because we're running out of time. So got this out of the way, and we just got to create this connection piece, and then we can start connecting everything together. That should be fairly complicated to figure out for me, not for you, because you just got to copy it. So hopefully it's going to look really good at the end once we create it, and we should be able to finish the threads in the next couple of parts. Okay, so I'll see you guys in the next part.